Welcome back to Operation Game Table. Today I'm reviewing Ravohria, a brand new, beautiful game by 91 Games. It's available on GameFound right now, link in the description below. Ravohria is a competitive game packed with hidden leaders, resource management, intense player interaction that blends deception, strategy, survival, and betrayal, all as you try to escape this dystopian wasteland with a capsule that you captured from the evil Ravohria family. Is this a mission worth taking? Let's find out. Before we begin, 91 Games did send us a prototype copy of Ravohria to review, but it's not ours to keep. Once we're done, they'll be sending it along to other reviewers. However, they are sending me a finished retail copy when final production is complete. That said, this prototype is still a work in progress, so some components, rules, or balance changes may differ from the final version. But as always, this won't affect our review. We'll be giving you our honest thoughts. Also joining me on this review are my wife Karli and my good friend Kevin. We played a 3-player game together, and we're going to talk about what we liked, what we didn't, and what our final rating of the game is. In Ravohria, you take on the role of mercenaries sent by underground gang leaders to infiltrate the Ravohria family's lab, steal one of these capsules, and escape through hostile territory. Along the way, you'll manage resources, fight duels, and try to get to the end first to get the most points. The first person to exit the board gets the most points. You also get points for the capsule. If you kill another player and you get their capsule, you'll get points for that. If you discover the secret leader that another player is working for, you're going to get extra points for that. There's interferences blocking the board that you can clear. If you clear one of those, you get points. You get points for certain cards that you build, certain tech that you build in your hand. You lose points if you lose life on your life track. And then each person has a secret leader who has a secret objective, and you get extra points depending on each one of those secret objectives. There's even one of the leaders who gets extra points for each life they lose. Rounds are divided by the sunlight and the moonlight phase. During the sunlight phase, you're going to draw cards. You can draw resource cards and tech origin cards, and then there's kinetic cards and arcane cards, which are the best in the game. During the draw phase, you're going to draw some of these cards. They're going to give you the ability to do some things on your board, build resources. That way, during each generation phase, which is the next phase in the sunlight phase, you can generate more resources. So each person's capsule generates resources, and also each person's resource card is going to generate resources. And those resources are going to be used to build tech cards or to build any other kind of card that will help you do something in the game, or to use a kinetic card, which might let you teleport further along in the game, or might let you duel another player, or give you more power so that you can fight other players. This is an intense, interactive game. You're constantly fighting each other. You're trying to figure out how you can get the most points, be the first person to get to the end of the game, while also defending yourself and making sure that you've got enough power to defend if somebody else decides to duel you. You're going back and forth, stealing each other's cores. These cores are placed throughout the map. When you land on one, you can engage the core. That gives you something good. If you have the ability, a kinetic ability, you can move somebody else around on the board, move them into a core, and cause that core on the game to do something bad to that person. You might be able to steal some of their cards, or you could steal some of their cores, which will give you victory points at the end of the game. This is a big take-that tactical gameplay type game. This is not a sit back and enjoy your own little area and figure out what you're going to do to get the most points. This is interactive. This is a game for people that wish there was more combat and more take-that mechanics in games. That's what this game is. I think that there's a lot of games that are you sit on your own, not doing anything. This is a game for people that don't like that would rather be interactive and fighting each other in tactical combat, back and forth, bloodbath all the way to the very end. You can even duel the other players. You can kill another player. You can torture players to figure out who their leader is. As you're going through the game, there's the sentinel that's trying to chase you down, and you're going to end up engaging in fights with the sentinel, with patrols, where you're going to have to combine with the other people that you were sometimes fighting against, and then they're going to come with you on a patrol to fight the sentinel, to fight the patrol, and you're all going to fight it together, and whoever does the most damage to the patrol is going to get one of these arcane cards, which is super awesome. These are the most powerful cards in the game. really cool. So everybody always wants to do a lot to fight the patrol, or it's your choice whether you want to go on that fight or not. So you might want to stay back and let someone else fight the patrol, hoping that they lose and lose a life. The game creates constant danger, constant tension. You're always wondering what you're going to do next. This is a game where you're not going to be able to plan ahead too much, because you never know who's going to backstab you, who's going to betray you, who's going to fight you next. You just have to assume that whatever your plans are, they're going to get washed away, and you're going to have to deal with whatever scenario you have. One of the players might stun you or disable you, and then you can't move, then you can't use your kinetic cards. Whatever the case is, you're going to have to figure out how to adapt quickly to a quickly changing environment. The combat mechanism in this game is dice related, but it's also, you have a power upgrade ability. So you're constantly doing things that can upgrade the amount of power that you have. That's your base power. And then you can also pay cards to upgrade the dice that you're going to roll in combat to increase your odds of rolling a higher die and having the most power going into combat. Every player can do the same thing, so it depends on how well you've managed your resources, how many cards you have in your hand, how much power you have, by how well you did at upgrading the power in the game. And a lot of times it comes down to a roll of the dice, and you end up with a tie, and you're rolling back and forth, and whoever has the tiebreaker with the dice wins. You never know which way it's going to go, but if you play well and you play smart and you build up your knowledge and you don't go into a duel without knowing that you've got the upper hand, that is very beneficial. Sometimes you'll have an arcane card that says you automatically win a duel. That's one of the cards in there. So you never know what's going to happen in this game. There's lots of really cool cards. The artwork in this game is phenomenal. This is beautiful, one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. And the mechanics in this game are so unique. They're things that I've never seen in another game before. So I was very impressed with that. This is not a how to play. If you want to see the how to play video, go on the Game Found link in the description below. And 91 Games did a great how to play video. So you can check that out if you're interested in the how to play. Now we're going to get on to the actual review. All right, we got our books.
I didn't write anything down in my book.
You didn't write anything down? Okay.
I'll save that for the camera.
It's all up here, yeah.
All right, and here we are for the review. This is my beautiful wife, Karli, and my good friend, Kevin.
Hello.
And we played this game last night, and it took us about 2 hours to play the game. 3-player, I think that was a pretty good time frame for the game. That included a little bit of teaching and getting the ball rolling. First, we'll go through what we liked about the game, then we'll do each one of us what we didn't like or what we thought could be improved, and then we'll go through and give a score on a scale of 1 to 10. So, what do you think? What'd you like?
Well, the first thing I really liked is the beauty of this game. The artwork is gorgeous. The colors are beautiful. We get to play with these beautiful colored gems, which I absolutely love. So that is something that I really like. Another thing I really like is the mechanics. Or you get to choose between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different actions, 3 per turn. So it feels like you're always doing something. I really like that part of it as well.
And it's easy to see because it's right here on the board which actions you've got available. I like the little turning those mechanic.
Yeah. I also really like the idea of this part of it where you're having to guess who the people are. Because the whole time you're looking at the core.
Yes.
So when somebody grabs a core, you're like, ooh, you got a yellow one. Well, like, who could you be? You know what I mean?
So
like,
you're looking at the
who,
player aid here and seeing, oh, well, let's see, this leader and this leader and this leader all go for yellow, so I bet he's one of those 3.
Right. So I like that aspect of it as well. Mm-hmm. So that's what I liked.
All right. Let me look at my notes. I took notes here. Let's see.
Good, honey.
I only wrote one thing though. I wrote the art, but
there's
a lot more. There's a lot more than that I like. So definitely the artwork in this game was phenomenal. It really pops. I like the color contrast compared to a lot of games out there that just seem so bland when you put them on the table. This is not a bland game. This game, you put it on the table and it looks like it's fun.
Vibrant.
Very vibrant. That's a good word for it. And then the gameplay, I like the interactive nature of the gameplay, the take that mechanics where it's a battle royale. You're just going back and forth trying to see who can come out ahead every single turn. Just because you come out ahead one turn doesn't mean that you're going to come out ahead the next turn. So it's back and forth the whole game, and I thought that was really fun. The action mechanics, the resource management, I really think they did a good job with the way you can build up your resources. You start with hardly any resources, and then as you go throughout the game, halfway through the game, you're flush with resources if you do it right, if you're able to build some resource cards there.
If someone doesn't attack your resources.
Right. So it feels very satisfying if you do it right, and it also feels very satisfying if you're able to take away somebody's income and set them back, but they can do the same thing to you. So it really feels like those things matter a lot. So I like that part of the game.
So everybody points out the art, and I think the thing I'm noticing about the art is that it's the bright, vibrant colors that stand out, but the colors match the resources. Like you look at the resources, they match the different color template on the cards, and it's just the fact that everything holds together. So the art is consistent across the way, even the pieces match the art, and I think that's what really makes it stand out and why you're drawn to the art, because it's very engaging, right? And it's pervasive.
I like the boards. I like that everything fits in the board here. You've got the, all the different leaders. You can
Doesn't
just
slip
flip
off.
them. The recessed board is nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what they do because this is a prototype version. They only had the one way to set up the game, but the replayability of this game is that each one of these steps you can change the order of, and you can put a lot of randomness in there.
Oh.
So I'm excited to see I think they're going to give suggestions in the game on different ways you can set it up, or it might be completely random. I think that's a really neat aspect of it. What else? Anything else you want to add on what you liked?
So you guys had already mentioned the leaders and how that worked, but what I thought was kind of cool is you have this game that has a lot of components you'll see in other games, but in the midst of it all, it's not a huge part of the game, but it's enough there where you're trying to solve who the other person is by watching their behavior and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think it's what makes this game unique. There's a different undercurrent with all of that. You may actually find yourself taking a less than ideal move in the game in order to throw somebody off as to who you might be, because you get bonus points at the end of the game if you can determine who somebody else is. The other thing I liked is the way that the different actions are located on different spots in the board. So based on the little color pieces you take, it comes up with a different action. That makes you think on a different level. Like, do I move here because I want to take that action? Do I take that action because I want to gain that as a resource for the end point? There's a lot of really cool decisions to be made. And the way they set this up with the board and the actions, I've played a lot of games. I haven't seen something that I can compare this to. So it brings out something really unique in that way.
Very unique.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
On that aspect, I also want to add, before I forget, every turn in this game, it wasn't that difficult to make a decision, but it was interesting in that there were basically 3 different things that were determining what my decision was. It was what actions do I have available and what cores are on the different spaces, because I was going for a certain color core based on either the ability that it gives me or the end game goal that I have. And I love the asymmetry that you have with the different leaders, really unique. In certain leaders, you're going to be more likely to want to duel or to want to combat. Another leader might want to lose life. So it's completely throws off what the game might be if you play as another leader. So there's the cores, then your action selection over here, and then the cards that you have. So because of what hand you might have in front of you, you might change completely your plan just based on what cards you have available. So there's 3 different major components that are always changing. You're always changing what the board looks like. Your availability for your action selection is always changing, and then your cards are always changing. So based on those 3 things, any turn in the game, you could be wanting to go for one thing versus another. So that was really fun.
And we should also give a shout out to the arcane cards, because I think it adds a really cool aspect to the game. Like, I always love bonuses in games, something that's just added an extra. And I think the arcane cards kind of give that to me, because you don't always get one. Not everybody gets one. They're not that easy to get. Actually,
I think in the whole game we each only got one of them.
Yeah, and when we played, I don't think I got
There's a whole stack
any.
of them, and every single one of these seems like it's
They're
almost
very powerful,
almost game-breaking power.
Yeah, I mean, they're awesome. So I thought that was a
Extremely-
really cool part of it.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Yeah. No.
All right.
Now, what's tricky along those lines is it's not obvious the first time playing how to get things like arcane cards.
Yes.
Sometimes it's very obvious in a game, like, oh, in order to build a building, I need to collect brick. In order to do this, I need to do that. I do think this is a game where the first time you play it, you're learning the game. Even if you read the instructions, watch a how-to video, the first time you play it, you need to be prepared that even when you know what to do, you're not really sure yet how to get there. And these arcane cards are an example of that. Now, the second playthrough, you'll have a better feel for it. But you could play an entire game and not get any of those cards and still do okay.
They're just really awesome bonuses, I think.
All right, so what didn't we like about the game?
Okay, so I know it's like one of your favorite parts is the take that, and I'm going to take this card down and take you down. And that is really hard for me to handle. You know, especially when you do it
You're so
to
nice.
me.
You're so nice. You
It's
don't want to
really
be
hard.
mean
I don't
to
want to
anybody.
duel anybody, but the first time we played this was just me and you, and literally like the first turn, like it took me forever to finally get the resource card, and I was so excited, and you slapped down some card and you took it from me, and I was like, what did you just do? And I never caught up after that, and so I was like, this is not cool. And then you
sorry.
did that to me. It was
sorry.
it really hurt my feelings.
This is a game that is mean.
But I'm not.
it is
That's hard
mean.
for me to get into. I know you're like, ha ha ha. Let me do this, this, and this, and
You
I'm
can
just
do
like,
it right back to me. And you did.
and I
And it was
didn't.
still a
That's
close
why
game.
I won this game. Can I just say that I was the winner of this game? I won.
Yeah.
But I guess that was hard for me. That's hard. I still like the game, but I think that aspect of it, I'm not so much a ha ha ha, let me slap this down and take all your resources type of player. So I think that was, for me, the number one thing that I wasn't super into.
And I think this is a game where the big question, it's a cool game. I like how it's put together. But the big question is this game for you? Because it does have a lot of aggression behind it. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
This game is not going to work unless you attack other players.
There's no co-op version,
There's
Kevin?
no co-op
There's no
version.
co-op version.
In order to gain knowledge,
You can't
need
just
to
sit back
attack.
and be nice.
So that's one of those things you need to ask, because some people don't like that. Now, one of the things that is nice...
You could maybe just run away and try to race to the end without letting
But then you
anybody
wouldn't get
to
any
you.
points.
Then you wouldn't get any points.
I mean,
There is this swing back and forth, though, because yes, somebody can just obliterate what you've built up. But then you can turn around and obliterate them back. And so that's part of what you this is a game that if you hold on to what you gained too tightly and take too much excitement about it, you're going to be hurt
you
and
will
disappointed.
lose. Yes.
I was saying this game is a tactical game and not as much strategic. Meaning, if you're trying to plan 3 or 4 turns ahead, you're going to get really frustrated because you're going to build up an engine and then somebody's going to destroy it utterly. But if you say on your turn, what's the best thing I can do with what's in front of me
right now?
And somebody changed something, and what can I do there? That's what makes it tactical, and that's this type of game. So if you're a Euro gamer that wants that long-term strategy part, you're going to find yourself really frustrated. But if you like tactical games where you're like, I draw a card, what's the best use of this card, how can I eliminate that player, then you're going to feel like you like this game a bit more. And I think that's what you want to ask, because this is a cool looking game.
Yeah.
A couple of rough edges I'd want to see ironed out in some way, but it's a good game. But is it a game for you is the question that you'd want to ask.
My dislikes, I would say, are just a little bit of the complexity of the rule book. I did find myself going back to the rule book over and over and over again for certain key things just to make sure I was doing it right.
Like
and
fighting the patrol.
Some things just didn't feel intuitive. I like that they've got the little patrol explanation here. I still feel like if there was a way to make some of the combat, some of the duels, some of the fiddliness of your power mechanic here, where your knowledge goes up, it increases your power. If you want to add more power, you can pay energy to flip your token again, and then you're adding all these things in your mind, and it's hard to keep track because how many cards did you turn? Did you turn that card, pay energy to untap it, tap it again? Then
and then the next player goes and you're like,
how much, okay, I've got, 12 power I'm bringing in. Okay, how much are you bringing? By the time they add up all theirs, I forgot
forget.
what number
Yeah.
I had. And
Absolutely.
then which dice did I pick? So I feel like if they had some type of a power mechanism that made it easier to keep track,
you
that
know
would
the
take
little round things
the little
that you can
discs,
that
like
you can
they have
kind of
an
count,
unmatched.
and then set it down. That
Right.
way you don't have to remember.
Totally.
That's a good idea.
This is the type of game that if it's released exactly as it is right now, within a week or two, somebody on Board Game Geek is going to release a dial
Yes.
or
Yeah.
a cube tracking map or some way to keep track of the power before the fight, because
Yeah.
that is definitely the most complicated or fiddly part of the game is how the combat works.
Yeah, they could maybe have like a power level like right at the very top, so that
Yeah.
as you're adding everything
Sure.
up, you can just
Yeah,
move your track
something
up
as
at the
simple as
top.
that. I mean, I guess we could do it with
Or a
paper and a
dial.
pencil,
Yeah,
but
we
it would
don't
be
wanna
nice
have
to
to do
have
it.
it. Yeah.
And that was what I think all of us felt, was that we
Yes.
liked a lot of how the game worked, but that was the one part that always felt a little rough, a little confusing. And again, this is a pre-release version, so maybe that will be addressed. The other thing I noted too is some of the terms are a little misleading. So things like knowledge kind of gives you more power. So when you're going into a fight, you activate your knowledge, and that's how much you add to the dice roll. But that's not intuitive, because I usually think of knowledge as, book knowledge, tech tree, something like
Right,
that.
you don't think it's going to
As
increase
strength.
your combat power.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's
Right.
kind of almost like a spy type knowledge or something like
Right.
that. So there's a couple of parts where I'm like, I wish the labels of things were slightly different, so that I understood like, oh, this feeds into fighting and this feeds into that area. Now it's called knowledge for a reason. I mean, you gain knowledge by, they call it in
torture.
It
Yeah.
feels kind of more like interrogating would make more
Yeah.
sense. Because you're gathering information from other people. So that's the other little complaint I have. Is just that there's some clarity in just keeping track of battle, the fighting, and a little bit of clarity. I wish that it was more intuitive what each of these resources and things did. I think if you played it a couple of times, that wouldn't be a problem. But that's going to be what you notice coming in.
Yeah.
That you're going to be a little confused about things like that, and I wish that was a little more straightforward.
And I know you like the word interrogate, but I do like the word torture. I think torture is just it's a meaner version of interrogate.
It does fit with the game.
You
This
know,
is a torture
Leave it
game.
to the veteran.
Yeah, this is a torture game. This is not an.
I mean, it's a
interrogation.
game. It's a game. You're just supposed to have fun with it. But yes, it does. Interrogate versus torture. You're just finding out information. I think the last thing that I was going to add about an improvement would be another player aid that comes with an excellent player aid here, front and back, that gives you pretty much almost everything you need to know. The only thing, I kept going back to the book, to the rules over and over again for specifically the patrol and the dual combat mechanics, and then I think maybe like the upgrade mechanic for the dice. It'd be nice to have just like a little card or to somehow add that to this player aid. I think that if those were included, it would be very helpful, because I kept going back to the rules for that.
That's true. And I think that's in general. Like we all agree. Like that's the part that feels like the rough edge that you want to sand off a little bit. And I don't think it would take much. That's why I said if the designers don't release something,
Somebody will.
somebody
Yeah,
will.
somebody will
Game
come up
Geek,
with a player aid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
download and print out whatever resources made, and that'll help you out tremendously.
Did we all cover everything we like and don't like?
Yeah.
Are we ready to do our scores?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Ladies first? All right.
I give this a 7.5.
7.5.
I remember when you got the game, I remember seeing you set it up, and I was like, that is so overwhelming looking. This is not my kind of game. But when I got into it and I played it, just honestly, the beauty of it, the beauty of the cards, just sitting and looking at the artwork itself, like I really enjoy it. And the fact that I beat your guys' booty, I mean, that obviously makes it better for me, but I would totally play this game a lot.
All right. That's good.
What about for yourself? Where do you want to wrap up?
I'm coming up. I'm coming in also at a 7.5. I think I would probably give this an 8 or an 8.5 if they fixed the fiddliness of the combat mechanic. I think if they made it a little bit easier, a little bit smoother, I think that the gameplay would be smooth. I think everything would be a lot smoother. It'd be easier to play if that one piece was smoothed out a little bit. A couple other things, I think if, maybe starting with a resource card or starting with at least one power, I think that would kind of, that would help out a little bit, because you feel overpowered if you're the only one that has one power and nobody else has any power. Then you're going to automatically win pretty much if you have a little bit of energy any duel. So I think just evening out some of those things would make this an 8 or an 8.5 for me. I really like the game, but as it is right now, 7.5.
Yeah, I could say, and that's a good score. Like, I want to clarify, that's a good score. Right?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, for me, I would say a 7. And that's largely because probably my preference in games. I more am into the Euro strategy type games, but I can appreciate this is a really solid game. If tactical games was my preference over strategy, I would probably give it more of an 8. But again, I don't want to undersell it. I think this is a really cool game for people who really like that tactical and are looking for an aggressive game, because there aren't enough aggressive games like this out here.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, that I do think that's what this game has going for it, is there's not a lot of take that games. The majority of games are the Euro, play on your own, do your own little thing over
Build
here.
your own farm.
And
Yep.
and this is the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people who'd be interested in a game like this.
Yep, for sure. And that's why I'd say it's probably not as much a game for me because of my preferences, but I can appreciate this is a solid game. I really like what they put together.
It's beautiful.
Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe.
Yeah, that's good.
Is that good
Bring
enough?
your son over so like and
All right.
subscribe.
Max,
All right.
come here. Come over here and talk to the camera. Come over here. You see?
Over here to Mama.
Come,
To
come,
Mommy.
in. Come over here. By
Baba.
Daddy. Come
No,
over here
that's
by Daddy.
not where it is.
All right, look at the camera. See the red dot?
Yeah.
Okay. Say like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
All right. Good job.
Nice.